We are currently facing an invisible pandemic in our modern world. It doesn't cause fevers or coughs, and it lacks the symptoms that conventional medicine can easily identify. Instead, it gnaws at our souls from within, leaving behind invisible but profound cracks. This is the pandemic of emotional breakdowns, of relentless anxiety and stress. Do you wake up each morning with a vague sense of unease? Do you feel an invisible weight on your shoulders, even when everything seems fine? Do you spend long nights tossing and turning with an endless stream of thoughts? If so, please know that you are not alone. This pain, though it takes the form of a 21st century affliction, has a very ancient root. And more importantly, it has a way out, a path discovered thousands of years ago, not to escape suffering, but to understand and transform it. Today, we will walk this path together. More than 2,500 years ago, in the stillness of a forest in India, a man named Siddhartha Gautama, who would later become known as the Buddha, offered a profound and comprehensive diagnosis of the human condition. He didn't call it stress, anxiety, or depression. He called it by a single Pali word, dukkha. Dukkha is often translated as suffering, but its meaning is far broader. It's not just explicit physical or mental pain. Dukkha is also the subtle feeling of dissatisfaction, the inherent discomfort and instability in all our experiences. It's the feeling that everything, no matter how good, is impermanent, fragile, and never fully satisfies our deepest longings. This is the first noble truth, the foundation of all Buddhist teachings, the truth of the existence of dukkha. The Buddha stated bluntly, birth is suffering, old age is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering. To be separated from what you love is suffering. To be bound to what you hate is suffering. To not get what you desire is suffering. Recognizing this truth is not a pessimistic view of life. On the contrary, it is a courageous and realistic act, much like a patient facing a doctor's diagnosis to begin the healing process. Acknowledging that the modern mental health crisis is not a new phenomenon, but a contemporary manifestation of the universal truth of dukkha, can help us reduce self-stigma. Your pain is not a personal defect, but a part of the shared human experience. But here is the most crucial part, the part that offers hope and strength. The Buddha taught that not all suffering is created equal. He told a famous parable known as the parable of the second arrow. Imagine you are walking through a quiet forest. Suddenly, an arrow flies out of nowhere and lodges in your arm. The feeling of pain and sharp agony spreads. This is the first arrow. The first arrow represents painful, unwanted events that are often beyond our control. This could be an illness, the loss of a loved one, a criticism, a professional setback, or a broken relationship. The pain caused by the first arrow is real and unavoidable. But then, instead of simply treating the wound, we often do something strange. We pick up a second arrow and deliberately shoot it into ourselves. What is this second arrow? It is our reaction to the first one. It's the flood of thoughts. Why did this happen to me? It's so unfair. It's the anger, the resentment. It's the anxiety. What's going to happen next? I'll never get over this. It's the self-blame. I should have been more careful. It's all my fault. It's the shame and despair. The Buddha taught that in life, we cannot always control the first arrow, but the second arrow, that is a choice. This is a revolutionary truth. It means the majority of our chronic suffering and persistent torment doesn't come from the initial event, but from the layer of mental and emotional reactions we heap upon it. The first arrow causes pain. The second arrow creates suffering. This ancient parable perfectly describes the psychological mechanism that modern science calls rumination, a core factor in sustaining anxiety and depression. When we constantly replay a painful event, we are repeatedly shooting a second arrow into ourselves, preventing the wound from ever healing. But if the second arrow is a choice, a habit of the mind, then it can be changed. We can learn not to shoot it. We can train our minds to feel only the pain of the first arrow without multiplying it with the second. This is the promise of healing. In the next section, we'll explore how to do just that through some wise Zen stories. To understand how we can stop shooting the second arrow into ourselves, let's turn to a classic Zen story. The story of the two monks and the girl by the river. One day, an older monk and a younger monk were on a pilgrimage together. They arrived at a river with a swift current. As they prepared to cross, they saw a beautiful young woman struggling, afraid to cross the river alone. Seeing the monks, she asked for help. The two monks looked at each other. They had taken strict vows, including the vow not to have physical contact with women. The young monk was flustered, unsure of what to do. Without a word, the older monk quietly walked forward and lifted the girl. He carefully waded across the strong current, set the girl down safely on the other side, and calmly continued their journey. The young monk was stunned. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. He quickly crossed the river to catch up, but his heart was filled with frustration and judgment. He remained silent, but his mind was not. An hour passed, then 2, then 3. Finally, unable to contain himself any longer, the young monk blurted out, "Master, we are monks. We have vowed not to touch women. How could you do such a thing? How could you carry her on your shoulders?" The older monk stopped, turned to his student with a gentle gaze, and calmly replied, "My brother, I put the girl down on the riverbank hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This simple yet profound answer encapsulates one of the most important lessons about healing. The young monk, though miles away from the river, was still burdened in his mind by the weight of the girl. That weight wasn't the physical girl. The weight was his attachment to the past. It was his judgment. It was his anger. It was his rigid clinging to rules that overshadowed the core spirit of compassion. He was constantly shooting the second arrow at himself. In our own lives, how many girls by the river are we still carrying every day? It could be a hurtful word from years ago, a past mistake we can't forgive ourselves for, a grudge against someone who hurt us, a disappointment that something didn't go as we had hoped. We think we have left them behind, but our minds continue to carry them, letting them take up space, drain our energy, and prevent us from enjoying the present moment. Carrying the girl is not just an emotional burden. From a cognitive psychology perspective, it's also a drain on our brain's precious resources. When our minds are preoccupied with ruminating on the past, they use up our working memory and executive function. This reduces our ability to focus on current tasks, solve problems, and experience joy. In other words, the young monk was wasting his brain's RAM on a process that was not only useless but harmful. Therefore, letting go is not a lofty moral act or a sign of weakness. It is a practical and intelligent strategy to free up mental energy. It is a conscious action to protect our minds from unnecessary burdens so that we can live more fully and effectively in this moment. The question the older monk posed is the same question for each of us. What burdens are you still carrying, and is it time to put them down? If letting go is the first step to freedom from the past, then acceptance is the key to living harmoniously with the present. Zen Buddhism often uses the image of water to teach about the power of acceptance. There's a story about a young martial arts student who was very talented, but also easily discouraged. He would become frustrated when he couldn't perform his movements perfectly with other students around. Their presence distracted and frustrated him. One day, his master called him over. Instead of teaching him a new technique, he led him to a nearby stream. They stood in silence for a long time. Then the master pointed to the water and said, "Look at the stream. There are rocks in its path. Does it despair and smash into them? No, it simply flows over, around, and past them, continuing on its way. Be like the water, and you will understand harmony." The student understood the lesson. He returned to the training grounds and no longer fought against the presence of others. He accepted it as part of his reality, just as the water accepts the rocks. And when he did, his mind became free and his movements became perfect. The power of this acceptance was demonstrated in the life of Zen Master Hakuin, one of the greatest teachers of Japanese Zen. The story goes that Zen Master Hakuin lived near a village and was deeply respected by everyone. One day, a terrible event occurred. An unmarried young woman in the village became pregnant. When her family questioned her in a moment of fear, she pointed to the Zen master and claimed that Hakuin was the father. The whole village was enraged. The people who once revered him now insulted him. They came to his hut, shouted insults, and handed him the newborn baby. "This is your child! Take it!" Faced with this ultimate slander and humiliation, a sharpest of first arrows, Hakuin simply looked at the baby and said only one phrase, "Is that so?" He then took the baby into his arms. His reputation was in tatters. He had to beg for milk for the baby, enduring the contempt and cold shoulder of the entire village. But he never complained or offered an explanation. He simply accepted the reality of what was happening and did what was needed. He cared for the child. Many months later, the young woman could no longer bear the torment of her conscience. She confessed the whole truth to her family. The father and the villagers were filled with remorse. They rushed to Hakuin's hut, knelt to ask for his forgiveness, and asked to take the baby back. As he handed the child back, Hakuin simply said, "Is that so?" Hakuin and the stream's power didn't come from confrontation, but from complete acceptance. "Is that so?" was not a statement of weakness or indifference. It was the utterance of a mind entirely liberated from the bondage of reputation, from right and wrong, and from the fragile self that needs protection. It was the absolute refusal to shoot the second arrow. Hakuin didn't waste a single ounce of energy fighting what he couldn't change, the slander, the villagers' anger. Instead, he used all his energy to respond to the situation with compassion and wisdom by caring for an innocent life. This state of mind in Buddhism is called equanimity. It's not apathy. It's the ability to observe and experience all of life's ups and downs, praise, blame, gain, loss, joy, and sorrow, without getting carried away by the immediate emotional reactions of liking and disliking, of craving and aversion. This is the direct antidote to the second arrow. Equanimity is not an innate trait, but a skill that can be trained. Hakuin's story shows us the pinnacle of that skill, demonstrating that it is possible for a human to detach their inner happiness from the fluctuations of external circumstances. The goal of practice isn't to no longer have emotions, but to no longer be a slave to emotions. That is true freedom. We've learned about letting go of the past and accepting the present. But there are some pains that are too great, some cracks that are too deep, that no philosophy seems to be able to soothe. This is the pain of loss. How do we heal when our hearts are shattered? The most moving story, perhaps the deepest therapeutic lesson in the Buddhist scriptures, will give us the answer. It is the story of Kisa Gotami and the mustard seed. Kisa Gotami was a young woman who lived during the time of the Buddha. After years of being disdained by her in-laws, she finally found respect when she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The baby was her entire world. But then tragedy struck. The child suddenly died when he was just starting to walk. The grief was so overwhelming that Kisa Gotami lost her mind. She could not accept the truth. She carried her son's lifeless body, wandering from house to house, knocking on every door and asking, "Please give me medicine, medicine that can bring my son back to life." Everyone felt pity for her, but no one knew what to do. Finally, a kind-hearted person pointed her in a direction. "I don't have that medicine, but I know someone who might. Go and see the Buddha." With a glimmer of hope, Kisa Gotami found the Buddha. She laid her son's body down and begged for his help. The Buddha, with boundless compassion, looked at her and said, "I can help you, but to prepare the medicine, I need one ingredient. Go into the village and bring me a handful of mustard seeds." Kisa Gotami was overjoyed, as mustard seeds were a common commodity found in every household. But as she was about to leave, the Buddha added, "But there is one condition. You must get the mustard seeds from a house that has never known death. No parents, no spouse, no children, no servants." With absolute faith, Kisa Gotami returned to the village with her child in her arms. She went to the first house. "Please, can you give me some mustard seeds?" The people of the house were willing to give her some. But when she asked, "Sir, has anyone in your family ever passed away?" they sadly replied, "My dear girl, what a strange question. The living are few, and the dead are many." She went to the second house, the third, and many others. The answer was always the same. Every house had mustard seeds, but not a single one was untouched by grief. One person said, "I just lost my father." Another said, "My husband recently passed away." Another mother sobbed, "I also lost a child just like you." As twilight fell, Kisa Gotami stood there with empty hands. She had not found a single mustard seed, but she had found something far more precious. She understood. Her pain, though horrifying, was not hers alone. Loss is a universal part of the human condition. Her suffering was not a wall that isolated her from the world, but an invisible bridge that connected her to all of humanity. That understanding shattered the shell of her madness. Her mind became clear. She gently took her son's body to a forest and performed the funeral rites. Afterward, she returned, bowed to the Buddha, and became one of his enlightened female disciples. The Buddha did not grant Kisa Gotami a miracle to resurrect her child. He gave her a far greater miracle: empathy. The journey to find the mustard seed was not an impossible task. It was a brilliantly designed therapeutic journey. By making Kisa Gotami directly confront the pain of others, the Buddha helped her heal her own. The core practice in Zen Buddhism is called Zazen, or seated meditation. Za means to sit, and Zen means meditation. It may sound profound, but in reality, Zazen is incredibly simple and natural. One of the biggest misunderstandings about meditation is that its goal is to stop thinking. This is impossible, as the mind generates thoughts as naturally as the heart beats to pump blood. The true goal of Zazen is not to extinguish thoughts, but to learn to observe them without being carried away, without judgment, without clinging. It is the act of learning to befriend your own mind. Let's go through the most basic steps together so you can start today. Step 1. Find your space and time. Find a quiet corner where you won't be disturbed for about 10 to 20 minutes. It could be early in the morning before a busy day begins, or in the evening to wash away stress. Turn off your phone and other distracting devices. Consistency is more important than duration. 5 minutes every day is better than 1 hour every month. Step 2. Get into position. Your posture in Zazen is very important because the body and mind are one. A stable, relaxed body helps the mind become stable and relaxed as well. Spine. The most important thing is to keep your spine straight but not rigid. Imagine an invisible string gently pulling the top of your head toward the ceiling. Tuck your chin in slightly. Sitting on a cushion, Zafu. If possible, sit on a firm round cushion called a Zafu. Sit on the front third of the cushion, which helps tilt your hips forward and naturally straighten your spine. Your knees should touch the floor, forming a stable tripod. Leg positions. For beginners, the Burmese position is the simplest. Your legs are crossed and placed on the floor, not on top of one another. Other positions like half lotus or full lotus require flexibility and will come naturally. Don't force yourself. Sitting on a chair. If sitting on the floor is painful, sitting on a chair is a perfectly good option. Sit with a straight back, not leaning against the chair back, and with both feet flat on the floor. Step 3. Position your hands, eyes, and mouth. Hands. Place your hands in your lap, forming the cosmic mudra. Your dominant hand is on the bottom, palm up, supporting your other hand, also palm up. The tips of your thumbs lightly touch, forming an oval shape. Place your hands comfortably on your thighs or on top of your feet. Eyes. Your eyes should not be completely closed but should be slightly lowered, gazing at a spot on the floor about a meter in front of you. Your gaze should be relaxed, not focused on anything specific. This helps prevent drowsiness or getting lost in daydreams. Mouth. Your mouth should be gently closed, with your tongue resting lightly on your upper palate, just behind your front teeth. Breathe naturally through your nose. Step 4. Follow your breath. This is the heart of the practice. Focus. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath as it enters and leaves your body. Feel your abdomen expand as you inhale and contract as you exhale. Do not try to control or change your breath. Simply observe it. Counting breaths. To help your mind stay focused, you can count your breaths. Inhale, exhale, count 1. Inhale, exhale, count 2. Continue like this up to 10 and then start over at 1. Step 5. Dealing with the wandering mind. This is the most important part and where the real training takes place. Your mind will wander. That is its nature. Thoughts, memories, worries, plans, and so on will appear. When you realize you are no longer following your breath but are being carried away by a stream of thought, do not get discouraged or judge yourself. That is not a failure. It is a moment of mindfulness. Gently acknowledge, I'm thinking. Then, just as gently, bring your attention back to your breath, back to the counting. Every time you do this, you are training the muscle of mindfulness. Be patient with yourself. Let go of all expectations. Just sit there with sincerity and breathe. Our lives are a constant flow. We cannot always sit still. So how do we bring the peace from the meditation cushion into our noisy, busy world? Zen Buddhism has a wonderful practice for this, one that serves as a bridge between stillness and action. It is called Kinhin, or walking meditation. Kinhin is often practiced between seated meditation sessions. It helps circulate blood after sitting for a long time, reducing feelings of numbness and sluggishness. But more importantly, it teaches us how to maintain focus and awareness even when the body is in motion. This is an ideal practice for those who feel restless and have trouble sitting still. The practice of Kinhin is also very simple. Step 1. Hand position, Shashu Mudra. Hold your hands in the Shashu position. Make a loose fist with your left hand with your thumb inside. Place your right hand over your left, resting it lightly over your solar plexus, just below your sternum. Your elbows should be slightly extended away from your body, forming a straight line parallel to the ground. This position helps to focus energy and keep the upper body stable. Step 2. Posture and breath. Walk very slowly, much slower than your normal walking speed. Each step should be only about half the length of your foot. Coordinate each small movement with your breath. For example, begin to inhale as you slowly lift your right heel. Continue to inhale as you lift your entire foot off the ground. Begin to exhale as you move your foot forward and slowly place it back down. An entire step can last for one complete in and out breath. Step 3. The focus. The heart of Kinhin is to bring your full attention to the sensations in your body. Let your mind rest in your feet. Feel every detail, the pressure of the ground under your stationary foot, the feeling of the heel lifting, the movement of the muscles in your calf and thigh, the sensation of the other foot's heel touching the ground, then the rest of the foot, and then the toes. Be aware of the shift of your body's weight from one foot to the other. Step 4. The purpose of walking. In our daily lives, we walk to get somewhere. But in walking meditation, the purpose of walking is simply to walk. There is no destination. Every step is a destination. Every step is a moment of life, of peace. Therefore, we do not need to rush. When your mind wanders, and it will wander, gently notice it and return your attention to the sensations in your feet and to your breath. The introduction of both Zazen and Kinhin is not accidental. They form a comprehensive training program. Zazen helps us train focus and internal observation in a controlled environment. Kinhin teaches us how to maintain that focus when the body is in motion. Together, they help us integrate mindfulness into every aspect of our lives, whether we are sitting still in an office or walking to the parking lot. This shatters the notion that meditation requires a special space and time, separate from life. It turns every moment, every step, into an opportunity to practice, to return to peace. We have walked through stories of letting go, acceptance, and empathy. We have explored the tools to train the mind. But the final question remains. After all the hurt, all the brokenness, what does true healing look like? Can we ever return to how we were before, as if the cracks were never there? Another Zen story offers a surprising and beautiful answer. A Zen master was given a priceless crystal cup by one of his students. He treasured it, often showing it to guests and telling them about his students' kindness. But every morning, he would spend a few seconds holding the cup in his hands and saying to himself, "This cup is already broken." He did this every day. He loved its beauty, but at the same time, he accepted its impermanent, fragile nature. Then one day, a guest accidentally knocked the cup off a shelf. It shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. Everyone was stunned and filled with regret. But the Zen master remained completely calm. He looked at the shattered pieces at his feet and said, "Ah, of course, it's time." He then quietly got a broom and began sweeping. The Zen master did not suffer because he had already accepted the death of the cup from the very beginning. But the story opens up an even deeper layer of meaning. In Japanese culture, there is an ancient art form called kintsugi. It is the art of repairing broken pottery with lacquer mixed with powdered gold or silver. Instead of trying to hide the cracks, kintsugi celebrates them. The golden seams not only make the bowl whole again, but also transform its scars into a unique, beautiful, and valuable part of its history. A kintsugi bowl is considered more beautiful and more valuable than the original, undamaged one. Our emotional cracks are the same. The journey of healing does not mean returning to a perfect state as if we had never been hurt. That is impossible. Healing is the process of using the gold of understanding, of self-compassion, of acceptance, and of the strength we find in adversity to mend ourselves. Our scars are not signs of weakness. They are a testament to your extraordinary resilience. They tell the story of the battles you have fought and survived. They make you deeper, more empathetic, and stronger. Like a kintsugi bowl, it is the cracks mended with gold that create your unique and irreplaceable beauty. The goal of this journey is not to return to the normal person of yesterday, but to grow from the wounds, to become a more profound and brilliant version of yourself. Kisa Gotami's journey truly began when she had the courage to step outside of her own pain and listen to the stories of others. Her healing came from connection. Today, the comments section of this video can be our village. It can be a place where we practice the lesson of the mustard seed together. If you feel comfortable, we warmly invite you to share a mustard seed of your own. It could be a burden you are learning to put down, a crack you are patiently mending, or a moment you found strength in acceptance. There's no need for detailed stories. Just a few lines of honest sharing can be a source of comfort and encouragement for someone else walking this path who feels alone. Let our stories become a bridge that connects hearts. The journey of healing is a long one, and none of us has to walk it alone. If this conversation has been meaningful to you, please hit the subscribe and bell icons to continue exploring ancient wisdom for modern problems with us. Each video will be another step on the path to finding inner peace.